This is going to be my second look at Ben Johnson's offense with the Detroit Lions in 2022. I guess trying to project what he may continue to do in 2023, even though they've added some new weapons. I know they'll be missing Jamison Williams for the first 6 weeks of the season. His first game back will be against the Ravens in Week 7, which will be pretty exciting for me as a Ravens content creator and someone who's committed to doing Lions content as well next year. Look, I think Ben Johnson's offense is very diverse. I think he sets up plays. I think he holds plays in his back pocket for later in the game, and that's mainly the reason I'm trying to show this video. You're going to see, I think, primarily film from the Washington and the Seahawks game this season. And when I say he holds on to plays, what I mean is I think he lines up in a particular formation. In this case, in this video, we're going to talk about bunch formation. And I think once he lines up in that formation once or twice, he realizes what you're going to do defensively to match it, depending on down and distance. And then has his counter, maybe not a counter play, but his trump card, if you will, that will work against both of your looks or your singular look if you're only using one look against it. So we're going to take a look here at the first two plays, I think mid-third quarter, if my timestamp is correct. Okay, so 9:24 left in the third quarter. Bunch left out of 12 personnel. And one of the things he does a lot of is motions with the H receiver or Z, depending on what terminology you use. In this case, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Motioning across, and you'll see that this inside linebacker widens up in the first play, like a quarters look where they're trying to keep this shell and not tip their coverage. They're not rolling one safety down and spinning a corner back, old school sky stuff, or rolling a corner up and cloud coverage with the safety, going high like a cover two. Instead, they're stepping the inside linebacker out. Happens to be a run play to that side. Minimal gain, I think a 2 or a 3 yard gain. Very next play is a 2nd and 8 after that 2 yard gain. Same formation. You can see there's a different tight end who's now off the line of scrimmage. Check out the alignment of that tight end, the stance of that tight end versus the stance here. You got a little bit closer to the left tackle. Helmet definitely in a different relationship. Let me fast forward to the other one. Does it mean anything? No. I mean, but you would look for those things defensively in a particular formation. Look at how far he is off the line. Why? It's a play action concept off the same motion by Amon-Ra St. Brown. Watch the difference in the inside linebacker that's spot shed or that's circled at the bottom, and then this safety who runs with Amon-Ra St. Brown, basically telling Ben Johnson that it's man coverage. It ends up being an incomplete pass down here to the running back. I think, to be honest with you, I think Jared Goff kind of neglects to possibly throw the ball to a little dig deeper in route here. But just get back to this wide, this tight end, this, whatever you want to call him, H-back. He's set up off the line so he can go across the screen and then pass pro to the downside of the field. In this case, he's picking up that inside linebacker that I had spot shadowed. I think Goff misses this guy. You've got an opportunity to get him the football, but it's not the point of this video isn't to criticize Goff and say he can't, do certain things. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. I've already done a video about him claiming that I think he can get them to a Super Bowl or an NFC title game in the least. But here you can see the route coming left to right on your screen, left to right from Goff's perspective. He appears to be looking directly in this area, somewhere in this path. You can't necessarily tell from the end zone angle, but you know that he's not looking over here just from the angle of his helmet. You got the stripe that gives us a pretty good indication. But in any case, chooses not to throw the ball there, throws it over to the running back, incomplete pass, inconsequential. All right, 6 minutes later, I think, of gameplay later, the very next possession, Washington has scored to make it 22-15. In my opinion, Ben Johnson as an offensive coordinator and his staff, there's got to be other guys whose names I don't know. They're like a boxer, like a Floyd Mayweather, at least from what I'm seeing. Meaning the first 2 or 3 rounds, they're downloading data. Maybe an MMA fighter like Anderson Silva, the first 3 or 4 minutes, they're downloading data. They're seeing what your reactions are, how you're going to respond defensively to particular formations and particular motions. And then, play number 1, okay, you got that covered. Play number 2, for whatever reason, Goff didn't go to that later dig. Okay, fine. Now we'll go to play number 3 because we know it's going to work based on the way you're lining up. Same formation, bunch left. The bunch is to the field. Somewhat similar look by Washington. Same jet motion by Amon-Ra St. Brown. Leaving the same D end unblocked. It's a jet sweep to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Huge play. Could have very easily been a touchdown. Great hustle by these 2 guys from Washington. Amon-Ra's, just unable to take it to the house in here. But it's the 3rd time showing this formation in the third quarter. And I think that's key. I'll kind of come back to that later in the video, a couple of plays later. It's the third time showing this formation. It's the third different play out of this formation. The first one, you had the motion with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then a run play into this, basically into that gap there. It was a zone, so the gaps move. The second one, you had the H-back tight end go across the line of scrimmage. It was a play action. If you remember, I said, I thought that was the route that was open. The X from the other side was running like a deep climb concept. So you've shown 2 plays already. Here's the third one. Very next possession, jet sweep, leaving that D end unblocked. You got a crack scheme by the X receiver who's off screen here for us. And because it's man, he's bringing the corner with him. This guy was man on Amon-Ra St. Brown. When I talk about downloading data like a fighter, what I mean is I think the offensive staff there in Detroit lines up, in this case, I'm trying to prove it, lines up in a certain formation, shows a certain motion, sees what your reaction is, and then says, okay, check, we got this. This is 16 minutes of gameplay later. I have the whole game film. They didn't run bunch formation and that motion at all between the play I just showed you, the huge run by Amon-Ra St. Brown, and this one. Minute 44 left in the fourth quarter. You can see the score here, 36-27. 16 minutes of gameplay later, maybe almost 17. 3rd and 12. You're throwing the ball, right? 3rd and 12, you're throwing the football. In the NFL and high-level college football, in high school, you're throwing the ball. Ben Johnson knows, the offensive staff know, that they've got something in their pocket that works. What is it? Bunch and then jet sweep to the weak side. So they line up with the bunch to the boundary, to the top side, and then the motion brings it down to the field and gives Amon-Ra more space. Now, I think you've got a mistake here by the nickel safety, the strong safety, number 20. Also, I had this guy spot shadowed or circled. I think that the bunch is and the plays he runs out of it causes tremendous problems for a 5-1 look, meaning 5 defensive linemen or 3 defensive linemen and 2 outside linebackers, if you will, whatever you want to call it, a 5-1 front. I think because he threatens horizontally and with the play action pass and with direct run plays, it's a hell of a problem for one solo inside linebacker to deal with. On 3rd and 12, this is what some people would say an unusual call. Look how clean the handoff is. Boom. D-end again left unblocked. Receiver again cracking. The safety who's running with Amon-Ra St. Brown, this corner does a nice job because he's seen it already. He's seen the play. And that's why it's so brilliant that they didn't show this play again, or this formation again, between Amon-Ra St. Brown's huge run on the jet sweep and this one, when they needed to gain some yards to set up a manageable 4th down. We know Dan Campbell's a guy that's going to go for it. There's the DN that's going to be left unblocked. I think this is the force player here who should have, quote, should have, been able to not let anyone cross his face, but this is the beauty of it. This is another beautiful element of it. It's man. That DB right here is running with Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's man. This guy is not responsible in man for a receiver who's on the other side, who lined up originally on the other side of the formation. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. When Amon-Ra St. Brown goes in motion, this guy is running with him. He's the guy who's going to end up getting cracked by the receiver who's off screen to our right. Defense is right, offense is left if the view was reversed. That's what I think is awesome about it. I think he's downloading data, seeing what defenses are checking to, how they're lining up, what coverages they're using in certain down and distances. And in this case, 3rd and 12, look at all the space he's created on a jet sweep, a very, I guess, basic play call, some would say, but used expertly on a 3rd and 12, creates a manageable situation late in the game. Were they not to get this 4th down, this is the very next play, by the way. Were they not to convert this, Washington has the ball, minute and 30 left, can score a touchdown, potentially do an onside kick, maybe even win the game. Point being, it was a huge call, a huge play, and the fact that the offensive staff held that jet sweep concept out of bunch under center, held it in their pocket, for 16 minutes of gameplay, even though they just had a huge gain, I think just says a lot about who they've got on staff there in Detroit, how they call plays, what they do. 4th and 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown, just showing you his brilliance and his versatility. Cover 0, defeats the coverage, makes the catch, closes out the game. Detroit's got their first win of the season after losing a close one to Philly in week 1. All right, 2 other plays out of bunch, somewhat inconsequential, I guess. This is Seattle, week 4, one of the games of the year, ended up 48-45. You got Bunch to the boundary again. And again, you've got a solo inside linebacker look. I think this formation and motion causes a lot of problems for a solo inside linebacker look. It's a snag flat concept to the field. You can see that the snag route, the little basic stop route, angled stop route to the X is wide open. I'll rewind it back so you can see it again. They're creating horizontal conflict for the defense, and one inside linebacker is not capable of necessarily covering all the plays that are threatened out of this formation. This is just one formation that I'm going to do. If you enjoy this, please let me know. There's the solo inside linebacker spot shouted. You can see him and Colby Bryant. I think it's Colby Bryant, who's a spectacular football player, are both staring at the quarterback, not aware of the routes that are developing, to their outside. And in this case, easy completion for Goff on the snag concept, on the angled hook. I guess some people call it a stop route. All right, last play out of this bunch formation. Again, against Seattle. Got the bunch, ball's in the middle of the field, bunch to the right. Just a basic downhill duo, type play, even though I think they've got zone rules for this. Point is, Ben Johnson has, in my opinion, plays to threaten all over the formation, all over the field, and they utilize them expertly. In my opinion, formations is how I was taught to approach the game. Formations is how I was taught to look at it. Of course, personnel is a huge factor too, depending on where they put their best player. In this case, Amon-Ra St. Brown is used in motion. He's used in the pass concept. Now, the snag flat concept, he's not on the field against Seattle. I'm not sure if he was injured that week or what. But I think Ben Johnson and those guys are smart coaches, incredibly smart, prepared, and they do things early in games or at certain points to see what the defense's reaction is to it, and then they probably have a checklist off on the side, like, okay, if this, then that. Okay, we didn't get this. If that, then this. And I feel like it's a scientific way, it's the way to call a lot of plays, depending on what your perspective is, what offense you're running. I think what they do there is very multiple, very physical, and the coaches put the players in position to succeed, create great angles in the run game. This is my second look at the Detroit Lions offense. I'm looking at formations and not play concepts. The next one I do will be a play concept called Jill, which is Jill ISO or Jill zone, where you're basically utilizing a receiver to block someone inside the box in a somewhat unique way. Anyway, let me know what you think of these videos. This is the first formation one I've done for the Lions. I will do a second formation one probably over the weekend. If you appreciate the video, please let me know. If you think that I missed some elements, feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you like this video and you think other Lions fans would enjoy it, please consider sharing a link on social media to help the video get more reach.